big one, dude. Scoping the bedders. Hey, what's up? You ever go out in the spring, the bass are spawning, but you got wake boats, winds blowing, pollen everywhere. You can't really see, like you really want to bed fish, but you can't really see. Well, you can use your livescope or active target, your forward-facing sonar, to catch those fish that you can't see with your eyes due to conditional reasons, or maybe they're too deep. But that's what we're talking about today. We'll go through some techniques, one main technique, but we'll do some settings. And the number one thing you need to adjust to be able to use your scope in shallow water, we're talking 10 foot or less, 5 foot or less, catch some of those big shallow spawning bass or just roaming bass when you can't really see. To catch them just looking in the water with your eyes and your polarized sunglasses should be a good one. Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to subscribe. There we go. Oh my gosh. It's a gorilla. Come on, bud. Come on, I'll let you go. Come on. There we go. Nice one. Three and a half pounder. Not bad. All right, guys, so that fish, basically you can see here, you can't see down in the water. And I'm just panning these shallow areas where the fish either spawn or they set up to spawn, and see some movement up on the rocks. Sends you your trusty drop shot up there, and voila, big smallmouth. Kind of extends your, I assume that fish was probably spawning, but on these windy days it's tough to see, plus the pollen and the bank's kind of stirred up with all this boat traffic. But we got our trusty cheater box here, so we can still catch them without having to look at them with our eyes. Well, we're looking at them with our eyes, but on the screen. All right, guys, so what we got going on here is shallow scoping. As you can see right here, we've got a pretty big fish holding on that piece of brush, likely to be spawning, and got a lot of interference from pollen, and the rock are causing some noise on the screen here. But if you go slow, you can see the fish moving around on the screen. See that one there? I think he's going down on my bait. Staying pretty much in the same general vicinity. So doesn't appear to be too interested in my drop shot, but if you crawl along, take your range down. I'm at 25-80 right now, so I can see some of those finer details, because a lot of these fish, when they're spawning, they're kind of got their backs down into the bottom, and they're really hard to see. But this one here keeps coming up and going down and doing all kind of crazy stuff. But we can treat this fish like a bed fish, and since we know it's staying pretty much right there, that's likely its bed. And doesn't seem like he's going to take the drop shot. I don't know. I've made a few casts at him, but I think there's some bluegills or something over there. But we usually like to try the drop shot first because it does not get hung and it's a high percentage bait. But we're just making repeated casts when we find a fish that's stationary like that. I'm just making multiple casts to this general area. You saw that fish there, it just chased off another bass, it looks like. You see that on the screen there? Oh, he's aggressive. He is mad, bro. In fact, he's so mad that he left his bed. So that's gonna probably kill our chances unless he goes back pretty quick. But that's the kind of thing, it's a really good example of what you want to target. You see those fish in a defensive mode relating strongly to one area, and if you can cast your bait in there and get a reaction out of it, it's usually worth working that fish just like if you were sight fishing for it. And you can fish deeper than you can see with your eyes, and the water's pretty clear here. We got a lot of pollen, but you can pick up fish that aren't getting pounded by the people sight fishing. This is a form of sight fishing, but it'll give you access to some of those fish that haven't been pestered or hooked yet. Really good way to use your scope. We're at 25 down, 80 forward right now. I usually stay around 25 or 30 or something like that, just to give myself a better look. If it gets too hairy, I'll take the range on down, because you get a lot of noise when you're up shallow. But sunny day, usually on A+11, but we're at A+8. We might bump that down so we don't get so much noise in this shallow water. But 20 to 30 forward, or 20 to 30 down, 70, 80 forward should work pretty well as long as you can see your screen. If you can't see the stuff on the screen, if you got a smaller screen, you might need to zoom in a little more. The more you zoom in, the lower you want your power on your trolling motor, because you will absolutely run on top of these fish. And once you do that, they're a lot harder to catch. If you can sneak up on them, that's the way to go most of the time. And we're just using different baits that we would use regardless. If we were looking with our eyes, we're treating these fish just like we're looking at them with our eyes, but we are looking at them with our eyes, but on a screen. Same baits, drop shot, Ned rig, things of that nature, and just floating around looking for fish to catch. Great way to catch them when everyone else is picking off those easy sight fish, and you can get an advantage on the competition if you're fishing a tournament, because these fish are largely unbothered this time of year because of what we said earlier. Everybody's sight fishing. Give it a shot. Pop back over here in a second, and I'll show you a fish catch and using this method, and we'll get into the bait and setup description. Be right back. Big and dude. Scoping the bedders. That is a real one right there, boys. Look how long that thing is. We better go land this one. Yes, sir. Nice one. Big and dudes. big, and it's a male. Look at that. Huge male. Ew. It's real smooth. Old Robo never fails. It's spawn and smallmouth. Get back over there, buddy. There we go. Little shallow scope fish there. Not bad. All right, guys, so the bait and setup today. We've got our Lew's custom light. It's a 7-foot medium light, extra fast. Great rod for a drop shot. You can see that extra fast tip there. It's not super duper extra fast, but it's pretty fast. 10-pound InvizX leader, 10-pound X9 braid per usual. I go with the green braid when I'm bed fishing a lot of the time because I like the ease of casting with a short leader, and that green braid blends in quite well with the bottom. 2500 Shimano Stratic, and I believe that's a rebarb hook on that. That's a homemade 1/8 ounce drop shot weight, 4.5 inch robo worm, morning dawn. That's all you need to catch some of these shallow smallmouth spawning. Nice one. Another big brown one on the old drop shot. Not bad. 3.5, 4. All right, guys, so the number one most important thing setting wise or setup wise when you want to scope shallow, it's not what you think. Settings on the graph are important, but the most important thing is to jack your trolling motor up some. Pull it up to where your transducer, see my transducer down there, it's about 6 inches below the water. If you can get your transducer up pretty high, you want to keep it low enough to where it will always be under the water. But if you don't get that transducer up, you're going to miss a couple of feet, or at least 1.5 feet of that shallow water that you're wanting to target this time of year when the bass are spawning or really shallow or coming off the bed, garden fry, and things of that nature. So number one thing to do first is lift that trolling motor up and give yourself some extra room to see up into shallow water. It's drop shot season. Oh yeah, that's a nice one. Get up in here, big buddy. Nice one. Thank you, sir. Up there around 35 feet. See if we can get a bite out of that one.